Y'all, the cameras might have stopped rolling last season, but the drama, baby, it's just getting started. Reports are swirling that Yandy Smith had a full-on emotional breakdown while filming scenes for the upcoming season. And yes, Chile, it was all caught on camera. Insiders close to production claim it went way beyond tears. We're talking about raw emotion, voices raised, and tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. But what really sent Yandy spiraling? According to sources, it was a heated confrontation with Rasheeda and none other than Jessica Dime that pushed her to her breaking point. And let's just say, this ain't the surface level shade we're used to. This was personal. Old wounds were reopened, secrets were spilled, and Yandy's calm exterior shattered in front of everyone. And the wildest part, fans who've gotten sneak peeks from leaked footage are calling it the most intense breakdown in love and hip-hop history. People who were there say even the producers were shook. Like, do we keep filming? Type shook. So what really happened between these three? And why is everyone saying this might change Yandy's storyline forever? Stick around, cause we're about to break down every messy detail. It all started on a day that was meant to be simple. A quick catch-up shoot, a couple of casual camera rolls, and then everyone would head home. But when Yandy stepped through the boutique lounge's doors, she carried more than just a Coach bag and a fresh mani. She carried weeks of simmering tension. She hadn't slept well. She'd been fielding whispers and sideways glances, backstage murmurs of Rasheeda and Jessica Dime plotting behind her back, dissecting her every move. The late-night text threads she wasn't part of, the storylines that kept her name in the headlines not for her achievements, but for other people's drama. She arrived early, told her assistant she'd take a few minutes alone. She sat at the velvet couch, inhaled deep breaths of artificially scented air, tried to steady the flutter in her stomach. The mic pack pinched at her waist, reminding her she was on display. The crew bustled around her like flies, setting up cameras on tripods, adjusting lights, testing audio. They didn't know what storm they had unleashed. Producers exchanged subtle looks, sensing the shift but hoping it would pass. Today's script was supposed to be lighthearted. Yandy chatting with Rasheeda about fashion, the upcoming cast trip, some harmless banter. Only Yandy didn't look like she wanted banter. She scrolled through her phone screen blankly, eyes flickering with frustration. Every notification had been muted, but she knew someone was talking. She felt it. When Rasheeda finally walked in, her presence was calm, almost regal, dressed in a cream blouse and matching slacks that contrasted Yandy's edgy streetwear. Rasheeda hugged the director, smiled politely at the crew, then offered a brief nod to Yandy. No warmth, mere acknowledgement. "Hey," she said softly, voice smooth, hands folded. Yandy didn't respond. Rasheeda took her seat, crossed her legs, and pretended everything was fine. Yet the air was thick. The tension prickled like static electricity. "We good?" Yandy asked after a moment, tone deceptively casual. Rasheeda's brow lifted. "Yeah," she said slowly, "we good." But she didn't meet Yandy's eyes. That tiny slip, that hesitation. Yandy pounced. "Really?" she said, sitting up straighter, voice low and steady. "Because I heard somebody been busy spreading stories. Commentaries about my business ventures, about how I act when the cameras aren't rolling." Rasheeda's lips tightened. "I don't know what you're referring to," she said. Yandy leaned forward. "Don't play stupid, and don't act like you own the truth." The director, still silent, held up a hand to indicate rolling. Cameras captured every twitch of her expression. Just then, Jessica Dime breezed in, humming a tune, phone in hand. She slid onto the sofa next to Rasheeda, ankle tapping. She peeked at Yandy, then at Rasheeda, sidelong glance full of mischief. "What's going on?" she asked, but her tone carried a challenge. Yandy held Jessica's gaze. "Exactly what I just said," she replied. "I want to know why y'all think it's cute to talk about me behind my back." Jessica shrugged. "We say what we want." "Yeah?" Yandy stood, voice rising but controlled, breaking the lounge's calm facade. "And y'all just assume I won't find out, that I won't hear the clips, the quotes, The stories you'll feed to bloggers. Rasheeda shifted uncomfortably. I'm not feeding nobody anything. Fine, Yandy shot back. Then explain why I keep hearing your names together, talking about my personal life like it's entertainment. Like I don't have a family to worry about. The director finally spoke. Let's take a quick break. But Yandy cut her off. No breaks, she said. We finished this now. The room held its breath. Cameras rolled. Grits paused. Assistants exchanged nervous glances. The only sound was Rasheeda's quick intake of breath. I've been dealing with enough off-camera stress, Yandy continued, voice thick. My son's been out of control at school. Demands on my time are insane. And on top of that, I get the pleasure of watching people I thought I could trust gossip about me. So forgive me if I don't find that entertaining. Jessica laughed, a harsh bark. You the problem, Yandy. You always make it about you. See? Yandy said, pointing. That's exactly it. You want to pin everything on me because it's easy. She stepped closer. Rasheeda's eyes flickered with guilt or fear. No one could tell. Stop looking for villains where there aren't any, Rasheeda said softly, voice shaky. I never said anything about you. But somebody did, Yandy said. And I don't have to have receipts to know it's you too. I feel it. With that, she crossed her arms, head tilted. For a moment, everyone waited to see if she'd tear up or storm off. Instead, Yandy let out a quiet laugh, bitter and raw. I've been playing nice for too long. I've been quiet. I've been the peacemaker. But that ends today. She raised her hand, motioned to the camera. This is real. This is unfiltered. She took a slow step back, hands on her hips. Lashes trembled, and then the dam broke. She sank onto the couch, voice breaking into sobs. Not histrionic, but genuine. Tears rolled down her cheeks, mascara streaking patterns like rivers. She buried her face in her hands, shoulders shaking. Jessica and Rasheeda froze, guilt and shock written across their faces. Assistants whispered, "Oh, she's crying." A light crew member covered her mouth. The director said, "Cut," but the footage kept running. Everyone knew a second camera had switched on to catch the unfiltered moment. From outside, muffled voices drifted in. A runner calling out, a producer banging on the door, asking what happened. Jessica stood, unsettled. Rasheeda stayed seated, hands twisting. Inside, Yandy's sobs subsided into quiet sniffles. She wiped her tears with the back of her hand and looked up, eyes red but resolute. "I'm done," she whispered. "I can't keep doing this." She stood again, shaky but determined, and walked toward the exit. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floor. Behind her, gossipy whispers started. "She's too sensitive. Drama queen? Did you see that breakdown?" Outside, fresh air hit her face. She inhaled deeply, closing her eyes. A friend wrapped an arm around her, guiding her to a nearby bench. She sank down, head in hands. No camera crew followed, no scripts anymore, just silence. And that breakdown, caught on camera and out in the open, became the spark that ignited every rumor, every alliance shift, every reaction from fans, family, and the rest of the cast. That moment changed everything. Until now, no one knew how deep the betrayal ran or how hard Yandy would fight to protect her truth. But one thing was clear, this was only the beginning. Yandy's breakdown sent shockwaves through the production offices, and as soon as the cameras stopped rolling, things moved in slow motion. Inside the lounge, Rasheeda and Jessica Dime exchanged glances that spoke volumes. Regret, confusion, and something darker, the realization that they might have miscalculated. Rasheeda finally stood, smoothing her blouse with shaky hands, and tried to speak, but her voice caught in her throat. Jessica muttered an apology that sounded hollow even to her own ears. The director cleared her throat, eyes wide, and called for a pause. Grits hurried to reset lights while producers huddled in a corner, whispering frantic updates to executives. Everyone knew the footage would leak. Outside, Yandy sat on a bench under the summer sun, arms wrapped around herself, still trembling. Her friend sat beside her, offering water and tissues, speaking in low tones about ground rules. Block your socials, Tell no one else on set how you feel." Yandy nodded slowly, but inside, her mind raced. She felt exposed, betrayed, yet strangely empowered. She realized that her breaking point had also been her breaking free. The world would see her vulnerable side, but they would also see her strength. Meanwhile, inside the lounge, the atmosphere was thick with awkward tension. The crew whispered about how intense it was to film without cutting, how raw Yandy's tears looked, and how even Rasheeda's composure had cracked. Someone mentioned that the assistant producer who heard everything outside had a hidden camera recording audio. Suddenly, every off-camera conversation was potentially on tape. Production assistants ducked into corners to delete their phone footage before someone else could see it. Just a few minutes later, in a private meeting room behind the set, executives and the showrunner convened. They debated whether to squeeze this breakdown into the premiere episode or save it for a mid-season cliffhanger. One producer argued it was too damaging to Yandy's image. Another said it was exactly the kind of unfiltered truth that made the show a ratings magnet. The final decision, bury in the first episode, but heavily edit the context. Yandy would appear strong at first, then tearful flashbacks would cut in, generating maximum suspense. That night, word spread fast. Social media accounts tied to the show exploded with speculation. Screenshots of the Yandy crying moment circulated alongside cryptic captions. Did Yandy just expose Rasheeda and Jessica's lies? And wait till you hear what they whispered. Fan forums lit up, factions formed. Team Yandy, Team Rasheeda, Team Dime. The next morning, trending topics showed #Yandy Breakdown surpassing even the show's official hashtag. Notifications pinged on cast members' phones nonstop. In her hotel room, Yandy stared at her reflection, the smeared makeup serving as a reminder of how real this had become. She called her manager, voice calm but determined. She needed control. She drafted a message to her publicist, "Own my narrative." She decided to record a short video, filmed on her phone, addressing fans directly. She spoke softly, eyes glistening, explaining that the clip would air, but the real story was deeper. Her journey as a mother, a businesswoman, a wife fighting battles behind closed doors. She promised honesty, vulnerability, and invited fans to join her beyond the drama. She posted it privately and sent the link to her team. Meanwhile, Rasheeda and Jessica conferred in Rasheeda's trailer. Rasheeda paced, replaying Yandy's accusations in her head, wondering when things had gone so wrong. Jessica sank onto the plush couch, phone in hand, scrolling through the trending posts about Rasheeda's betrayal. She flinched at the angry comments telling her to apologize, to own her part. Rasheeda stopped pacing and looked at Jessica, saying quietly, "We need a plan." Jessica nodded, rubbing her temples. They drafted a joint statement. "We regret how things unfolded, but we never intended to hurt Yandy. Hope we can all heal together." They debated posting it immediately, worried it might look too reactionary. The next morning, the show's official account posted a cryptic teaser. Raw emotions, shattered trust, and an explosive fallout. Tune in to see who comes out stronger. It teased Yandy's hardest moment, but said misunderstandings will unfold. Fans interpreted every word. The cast was on edge. Yandy's video from her hotel went live around the same time on her own channels. For the fans who've always supported me, it quickly amassed hundreds of thousands of views. Some praised her bravery, others called it a publicity stunt. Back on set, filming resumed. Yandy entered with renewed purpose, forehead creased, eyes steely. Rasheeda and Jessica greeted her with awkward smiles. The cameras caught stiff embraces and half-hearted pleasantries. Producers instructed them to film a reconciliation scene. Yandy accepting flowers from Rasheeda, Jessica offering a hug. But the unease was palpable. Cameras lingered on forced smiles and darting eyes. Everything was being mined for content. During a lunch break, Yandy met privately with her husband. She clutched his hand, voice low. She confessed how betrayed she felt, how making herself vulnerable had been terrifying, but also energizing. He reminded her of her strength, urged her not to apologize for showing emotion. She nodded, tears in her eyes again, but these felt different. Tears of relief more than pain. Later that afternoon, Rasheeda called Yandy with an apology she'd scripted in advance. Yandy listened, arms crossed, expression unreadable. Rasheeda talked about friendship, loyalty, the importance of honesty. Yandy responded calmly, saying, "I need you to show, not tell. Words are nothing without actions." Rasheeda paused, promising to prove it. Then Jessica reached out, voice shaky. She admitted she hadn't considered Yandy's pressures. She tried to frame it as tough love, but Yandy cut in. "I don't need tough love when I'm already fighting my own battles," she said firmly. The call ended with neither side fully appeased. That evening, Yandy penned an emotional journal entry that she never intended to share. She wrote about the duality of being strong and fragile, about the cost of reality fame, and about the hope that truth would ultimately heal rifts. She closed the book and set it aside, determined to protect her peace. Unbeknownst to Yandy, an unseen hand had lifted her journal entry from her trailer. An assistant, curious and overwhelmed, thought it might make good promo copy. They snapped a photo and sent it up the chain. Overnight, production buzzed about Yandy's secret diary. Executives saw an opportunity, leak it selectively to build intrigue. And so, before dawn, snippets of her unfiltered thoughts appeared on fan pages. When Yandy learned of the leak, her blood ran cold. She confronted the producers on set, voice barely above a whisper, but carrying the weight of anger. "You promised this was safe," she said. "This was private." The showrunner stuttered, but Yandy's stare silenced him. Cameras rolled anyway, capturing every second. Fans woke up to fresh drama. Yandy vs. showrunner. Betrayal? Headlines blared. Social media exploded. The cast, still at work, raced for the fallout. And through it all, Yandy held her ground. Hurt, yes, but unbroken. She wasn't sure where the next battle would land. But one thing was certain. This season would redefine her on every level. The tension with Rasheeda and Jessica had only grown uglier, and there was no turning back now. Yandy left the set that evening feeling a strange mix of relief and dread. The staged group dinner had aired well, at least on the surface, but beneath the staged smiles and clinking glasses, the fissures were only growing wider. As the cast drifted apart, each to their own trailers and lives, the unseen currents of betrayal and ambition kept pulling at them. By the next morning, social media was aflame with theories. A leaked audio clip, snatched from the assistant producer's hidden recorder, had surfaced. Rasheeda's voice, clear as day, mocking Yandy's breakdown and questioning whether it had been for real or just more drama for the show. The snippet spread like wildfire, shared on gossip pages and private group chats alike. Fans dissected every inflection, every sneer, and drew their own conclusions. Was Rasheeda heartless? Was the whole feud just a performance? Yandy's inbox exploded. Supportive messages from admirers, worried texts from friends, and a handful of venomous comments accusing her of overreacting for attention. She scrolled through the sea of words and felt her chest tighten. Tears threatened again, but she steadied herself. She wasn't going to give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her crack twice. She tapped out a quick tweet. "I've faced real pain, not staged it. Truth will always outshine rumors." With that, she closed her phone and focused on the day's shoot. On set, the atmosphere was heavy. Cameras were everywhere, capturing every sideways glance. Rasheeda arrived first, hair pulled back tight, expression unreadable. She passed Yandy in the hallway without a word. Later, Jessica slipped into makeup, eyes red from too many late-night reads of comments. The stylist offered her coffee. She barely looked up. Producers hovered, eager to film the tension, planting their own seeds by asking leading questions. "How do you feel hearing those leaks? Do you think this fight is real?" Yandy's scene that day was supposed to be a lighthearted segment, featuring her in Jessica Dime tie-dye t-shirts. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The designer beat introduced colorful dyes and blank shirts, and cameras rolled. At first, Yandy moved with practiced ease, instructing Jessica on folding techniques, cracking jokes. But when Jessica reached across to hand her a shirt, their fingers brushed and Yandy froze. She looked up, eyes locked on Jessica's, and the world narrowed. "Why'd you do it?" Yandy asked softly, voice lilting with pain. "Why'd you let that clip get out?" Jessica paused, dye-stained fingers hovering over the bucket. "I didn't," she replied, voice shaky. "It wasn't me." But Yandy shook her head. "Somebody leaked it." Her words hung. Cameras kept rolling, capturing every heartbeat. Then Rasheeda appeared in the doorway, drawn by the sudden tension. She took in the scene, Yandy standing rigid, Jessica clutching a shirt dripping in yellow dye, the assistant director frozen mid-call. Rasheeda crossed her arms. "Maybe he too can solve this off camera," she said. But her tone cut sharper than any blade. Yandy turned to her. "Did you leak it?" she asked. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed. "Don't put that on me." But Yandy pressed. "Because I know you had access." Jessica's face paled. She backed away, splashing dye onto the floor. The crew finally blinked and someone yelled cut, but no one moved to clean up. They were too busy watching the drama unfold. In that heated moment, Yandy felt a surge of anger she hadn't felt before. She grabbed the crate of dyes, yanked it forward, and the jars clattered to the ground, spilling colors across the hardwood. "I've had enough," she shouted, voice echoing. The silence that followed was deafening. Jessica and Rasheeda exchanged panicked glances. The set assistant crept forward to gather the broken glass, but Yandy ignored it. She stormed off, leaving rainbow stains behind. Her footsteps pounded as she crossed the soundstage, finally bursting into the corridor. A production assistant tried to follow, whispering apologies, but Yandy brushed past. She leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The adrenaline surged through her veins. She felt alive, lucid, unstoppable. Meanwhile, inside the lounge set, Rasheeda and Jessica ducked into a supply closet. Rasheeda slapped at the spilled dye on her shoe. "We can't keep doing this," she hissed. "Our careers are on the line." Jessica pressed her back against the wall. "Then what do we do?" she whispered. Pure panic shimmered in her eyes. Outside, Yandy retrieved her phone and posted a simple status. "I stand for truth, even if it costs me everything." No hashtags, no emojis, just that. Within minutes, it garnered thousands of likes and retweets. She watched as fans rallied, declared their loyalty, and speculated about what her truth really was. Later that afternoon, the cast reconvened for a confessional segment. Cameras pointed at empty chairs as each cast member was called in. Yandy sat in the makeshift booth, lights dimmed, and confessed, "I'm tired of not being heard. I'm tired of pretending everything's okay when it's not. I'm tired of seeing the people I trusted use my pain as entertainment." The camera lingered on her face, every emotion raw, unfiltered. Rasheeda's confessional followed. She sat sternly poised and read a carefully curated statement. "I regret how my words were perceived. I never meant to hurt Yandy. I value her and respect her strength." Her tone was steady, practiced. It contrasted sharply with Yandy's rough edges. Jessica's turn came last. She fiddled with the mic, cleared her throat, then offered a shaky apology. "I know I contributed to her pain. I let my ambition blind me. I'm sorry, Yandy." Her eyes glossed. The camera caught her vulnerability, but many viewers sensed it was half-hearted. When the confessionals aired that week, viewers saw the juxtapositions clearly. Yandy's unguarded truth, Rasheeda's polished regret, Jessica's nervous remorse. The internet erupted. Debates raged over authenticity, loyalty, and who the real villain was. The producers basked in the ratings spike, patting themselves on the back for filming real emotion. But behind the scenes, the divide had only deepened. Yandy, fueled by both support and anger, doubled down on her fight. Rasheeda, stung by criticism, retreated into tighter circles, plotting her next move. Jessica, shaken by backlash, questioned whether she'd survive the storm. As the sun set over Atlanta, the cast boarded their trailers, each carrying the weight of the day's revelations. The spilled dye had stained more than just the floor. It had colored every relationship, every motive. And with part of the truth now public, the rest lurked in the shadows, waiting for the perfect moment to explode. Because in their world, peace was a fragile illusion and drama was the only constant. The next twist was already in motion, and none of them would be prepared when the next secret came to light. It was the kind of morning that should have felt routine, Yandy arriving at the set with her usual grace, the crew greeting her with smiles, the cameras ready for a low-pressure sit-down. But from the moment she stepped into that sunlit Atlanta lounge, she felt the weight of every whisper she'd been ignoring. Her assistant hovered nearby, quiet and tense, as Yandy traced the outline of her coffee cup, trying to center herself. She glanced at the ornate mirror behind the camera setup, saw her reflection framed by soft ring lights, and wondered how many versions of herself were already out there on social media, dissected by fans and critics alike. Behind the scenes, the buzz was all about the rumored fallout between Yandy, Rasheeda, and Jessica Dime. Production assistants traded furtive glances, speculating on whether today's conversation would be an olive branch or a powder keg. Yandy's heart pounded as she took her seat on the velvet couch, knees pressed together, hands folded neatly in her lap. She looked serene on camera, perfectly coiffed hair, flawless makeup, but underneath, every beat of her pulse hammered reminders of late-night texts she'd intercepted and snippets of private conversations she'd overheard. When Rasheeda arrived, dressed in a soft cream blazer and slim trousers that exuded calm confidence, Yandy's breath caught. Rasheeda tossed her hair, smiled politely at the crew, then offered a curt nod to Yandy. No warmth, no hello, just a single raised eyebrow. The silence stretched between them as Rasheeda settled across from Yandy, crossing her legs with poise. Producers called rolling and action, hoping the scripted questions about fashion collaborations would ease the tension. Cameras focused on Rasheeda's lips as she answered about the latest boutique launch, but her eyes kept flicking to Yandy, measuring her response. Yandy swallowed. She'd rehearsed neutral commentary about the show's next season, but something inside her snapped. She leaned forward, voice calm but edged with steel. "I hear there's been a lot of chatter about me," she said. Rasheeda's smile faltered. The crew stifled whispers. "What do you mean?" Rasheeda replied, voice even. Yandy's gaze sharpened. "You know exactly what I mean. The lunch you had with Jessica Dime. Apparently it was more about my personal life than your business plans." Time seemed to slow. Rasheeda's breath hitched. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, eyes darting to the cameras. "We just discussed boutique strategy." Yandy shook her head. "Stop it. You two have been plotting, saying things, planting stories, leaking quotes to bloggers, making me look unstable." She pressed her lips together, fighting the tremor rising in her throat. Just then, Jessica Dime sashayed in, foam in hand, oblivious to the undercurrent of hostility burning the air. She offered a bright "hey" to everyone, then paused when she saw Yandy's stance. Yandy didn't flinch. She met Jessica's gaze, cool and unwavering. "Glad you could join," she said softly. Jessica's lips curled. "What's going on now?" she asked, tone dripping with mock concern. "You know exactly what's going on," Yandy replied, voice quiet but firm. "I'm tired of hearing whispers about how I fake it for the camera, how I'm too dramatic, how I can't handle pressure. Did you ever think maybe I'm crying because I'm human?" Her words landed like stones in still water. The crew shifted uncomfortably, lights bobbed on cables, and somewhere, a mic clicked. Rasheeda opened her mouth, then closed it. She shot a look at Jessica. "If you feel that way, bring me receipts," she said. "Don't come at me with rumors." Yandy's chest tightened. She stood slowly, pushing her chair back. "I've got more than enough," she said, voice edged with pain. "And I'm done pretending I don't know." In that moment, the camera crew exchanged looks. They sensed gold, but at what cost? The director hesitated to call cut. The lights stayed on. Yandy's heart thundered as tears welled in her eyes. She felt raw, vulnerable, and fiercely alive. She took a trembling breath and continued. "For weeks I've been holding it in. I've been smiling in public, telling my kids I'm fine. But behind the scenes, I feel like I'm drowning. I'm running a business, managing family, supporting my husband, and all I get in return is gossip and shade. Jessica scoffed. Maybe if you stopped playing victim, you'd be less of a target. Rasheeda's gaze flickered with guilt or shame. Yandy couldn't tell which. The tension coiled tighter. Yandy's vision blurred as tears escaped her control. She pressed her fingertips to her cheeks, trying to stem the tide. You think I want any of this on camera? You think I enjoyed being the one who cracks? She shook her head, voice breaking. This isn't an act. This is me. The crew held their breath. Lights reflected on Yandy's glistening cheeks. The cameras didn't cut away. A soft sob escaped as Yandy sank into her chair, shoulders slumped. She covered her face with her hands, and for a heartbeat, there was silence. Then Rasheeda stood, reaching a hesitant hand toward Yandy. I'm sorry, she whispered, words barely audible. Jessica looked torn, stepping forward but stopping short. Yandy lowered her hands, eyes red and raw, and stared at Rasheeda's outstretched arm. She paused, then rose slowly, staggering slightly as if the weight of her emotions pressed down on her. Without a word, she turned and walked toward the exit, the velvet curtain swaying behind her. A production assistant hovered, voice gentle, Yandy, do you need a minute? She didn't respond. Outside, sunlight streamed in, a sharp contrast to the charged atmosphere inside. Her friend waited just beyond the doorway, arms open. Yandy collapsed into those arms, tears spilling freely now, sob after sob, the kind that uproots everything inside. No cameras followed. She let herself dissolve, relinquishing every ounce of composure she'd maintained so long. The world ahead felt uncertain, but in that vulnerability, she found a fierce clarity. She wouldn't let anyone else define her truth. Inside, Rasheeda and Jessica exchanged a look thick with regret. Maybe they'd gone too far. Maybe the cameras had captured more than they bargained for. Producers called cut, but the moment wouldn't end. Not for Yandy, not for the show, and certainly not for the fans who'd get a front row seat to her breaking free. This wasn't the finale of Yandy's story. It was the opening act. The tension between Yandy, Rasheeda, and Jessica has reached a boiling point, and you've been right there to witness every raw moment. Fans are shocked by Yandy's emotional breakdown. Emotions ran high as she confronted old friends under the glare of the cameras, and the cast was left divided like never before. We've seen alliances shift, trust shattered, and secrets threaten to destroy years of loyalty. But the story doesn't end here. Will Rasheeda's apology hold any weight, or will it unravel once more under pressure? Can Jessica prove that her remorse is genuine, or will her ambition drive another wedge into the trio's fragile bond? And what about the leaked journal entries? Will they bring more truths to light, or drown Yandy in even deeper betrayal? As the cameras stop rolling and the sun sets on Atlanta sound stages, the real drama is just beginning. Yandy's fight for authenticity has struck a nerve with viewers, her courage to show vulnerability turning social media into a battleground of opinions. Behind the scenes, production is already planning the next explosive twist. Rumor has it a new secret alliance is forming, and someone's about to cross a line that can't be uncrossed. So what do you think? Will Yandy find strength in her truth and emerge victorious? Or is this breakdown the start of an even more dramatic downfall? Can Rasheeda and Jessica repair the damage they've done? Or is forgiveness impossible after such a public tear? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice could steer the conversation. If you've been hooked by this roller coaster of betrayal and raw emotion, make sure to like this video, subscribe for all the latest updates from love and hip-hop, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment of the chaos. Let us know which side you're on and what secrets you think will surface next, because in this world, drama never sleeps, and neither should you.